Welcome, one and all, to another episode of Pacific 4 and 4 episode reviews. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing part 2 of the Discovery two-parter, and that's Star Trek Discovery, not the Discovery Channel. Anyways, the Discovery two-parter, Terra Firma, part 2. Okay, so, like I said last week, I don't expect much from a Mirror Universe episode. A lot of the times in any previous Mirror Universe episodes, we usually get a lot of overacting, some very bad performances in previous Mirror Universe episodes. Looking at you in the mirror darkly. And in case you're not familiar with In the Mirror Darkly, and there's a reason why I bring that up, is because In the Mirror Darkly was the only episode, well, two-part episode, of Star Trek Enterprise to delve into the Mirror Universe. Now, in that episode, in both Part 1 and Part 2, the team behind Enterprise at the time, the production team, was very clever in creating an alternate opening for Enterprise. It wasn't your usual, it's been a long road for getting from there to here. You know, the opening theme with, what Star Trek has always been known for about moving forward, positivity, excuse me. Anyways, what Star Trek's always been known for, positivity, looking forward, an optimistic, bright future. And, in the Mirror Darkly, it starts off with a little bit of that original opening, and then it delves into footage, video of wars from the past, and showing that this episode's not taking place in the normal Star Trek universe. It's taking place in the Mirror Universe, where, our characters that we know are evil. The Terran Empire rules the galaxy with an iron fist. Anybody who uprises against the Terran Empire is crushed. That was until Captain James T. Kirk, Uhura, Scotty, and Dr. McCoy went to the Mirror Universe for what Starfleet knows as the first time anyone has ever crossed over. And during that time, there was a mind meld between Kirk and Spock, the Kirk that we know and the Spock of the Mirror Universe. And we later come to find out on Deep Space Nine, and I believe it was either Through the Looking Glass, or it wasn't Shattered Mirror, or maybe it was Crossover. I think it was Through the Looking Glass. That was the first episode of Deep Space Nine to delve into the Mirror Universe, where it was Dr. Bashir and Major Kira. I was about to call her Colonel Kira, but she's not promoted to Colonel until later. But anyways, they're brought into the universe, and they find out what happened after Kirk and Spock had the mind meld in that particular universe. How there was an era of peace, at least an era of peace that Spock tried to bring in, and unfortunately failed. And now the Terrans are the slaves, and it's the Alliance led by the Klingons and Cardassians and a few other Star Trek species who basically control the quadrant. Well, Deep Space Nine had a few more episodes that delved into the Mirror Universe. It mainly dealt with Captain Sisko going over there at one point, helping them fine tune their version of the Defiant. And then, of course, another Mirror Universe episode dealt with Quark and Rom going over to the Mirror Universe to rescue Grand Nagus Zek, and they brought over a cloaking device. So, anyways, Discovery, this is its second jump into the mirror universe, and during this second jump into the mirror universe, Mikey Spock, Michael Burnham, Commander Michael Burnham, whatever you want to call the character, whatever nickname you want to give the character. I've heard some people say she's a Mary Sue. Some people just continue on with Mary Spock, and others say Mikey Spock. But the thing is that she's thrown into the chamber, the agonizer, which was introduced in the original series Mirror Mirror, and of course it was touched up on in Enterprise, and of course here on Discovery. Well, she's thrown into the agonizer, and she's saying how those who are witnessing her being thrown into the agonizer after first being thrown into the brick. But like I've said before, and if this is your first time watching any of my reviews, I go all over the place in my reviews. I might skip points in the beginning and then go back to them later. I might even skip the beginning point and just start talking about one particular scene, maybe a few instances in this episode that were just on my mind, and I just wanted to get it out there. But, anyways, she's thrown in the agonizer. But, get back to what I was starting on. Before we even see Michael Burnham thrown into the agonizer and she's tortured because Georgiou wants to know who are her associates besides Lorca. When I was talking about Enterprise and how they created their own different opening for their Mirror Universe episode in the Mirror Darkly, well, Discovery tries to do so and fails. That's right, I'm saying it. They failed. All they did was change the color palette and invert the image where it's upside down, and they didn't even bother changing the music. I mean, come on. At least under Rick Berman and Brandon Braga from 1987 to 2005, when the Next Generation era started and ended, under their production, mainly Rick Berman, and then of course later on Brandon Braga, Jerry Taylor, Michael Piller, after Gene Roddenberry passed away. At least they had the creative juices flowing and saying, how about we open up our episode with not a positive opening and have all these images of war, but also change the theme music to let the audience know that Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. But no. All they did was flip the image upside down, invert the colors, and not even bother changing the music. So I'm knocking off a point for lack of creativity. But anyways, getting back to Michael Burnham being thrown in the agonizer because Georgiou wants to know who are their associates, because as we already know, if you've watched the show before, it is Michael Burnham working with Lorca in the Mirror Universe, and Lorca's trying to overthrow Georgiou, and of course we do end up finding out that there's an alliance between the Klingons, the Romulans, Tellarites, Denobulans, Phlox, Dr. Phlox. Anybody remember Dr. Phlox from Enterprise? Well, they mentioned the Denobulans, kind of member berries. Oh, do you remember the Denobulans? Well, guess what? We're going to name drop them. So, anyhow, they go through this whole montage of Michael Burnham being tortured in the agonizer. They're throwing food at her, and she's refusing to eat it, and she keeps going in the agonizer and getting punished. She starts to look like crap because of all the pain she's been through, and finally she agrees to give Georgiou the information she wants, but also In the meantime, Giorgio has the Saru of that universe as her spy to get information. And, she's even talking to Saru at one point in this episode, saying that she's seen a Kelpian who has gone through their their growth process where the tentacles come out, and I forget what they call it. Not that it matters. You all know how I feel about the show anyway. But you know, she starts talking about how the Suru of the Prime Universe. Let me not forget that they're calling their universe the Prime Universe, even though every aesthetic is definitely the J.J. Abrams Bad Robot and Secret Hideout Alex Kurtzman type of Star Trek. The Kelvin universe. But talking about the Saru of their universe, the Kelvin universe, their Prime universe, not the one that existed from 1966 to 2005, but talking about how he went through the Johari or Johar, whatever it is, where they go through, basically, I guess you could say it's their puberty adolescence period, and talking about how the Saru of that universe went through it, is now the captain, and she sees great things for this Saru. And, he says to her, I know you're not from this universe, and you need to go back where you came from. And, Giorgio says, but I belong here. And even at one point in the episode, Michael Burnham of the Mirror Universe says that, Philippa Giorgio's grown weak. And, even Captain Tilly, or Killy as they call her in this universe, says that, everybody sees that she's supposedly getting weak, when, long story short, all it is the influence of Mikey Spock back in the Kelvin Prime universe. And, Giorgio seeing that there's a better way of life. And, of course, before we even get to all that, Giorgio and Mikey Spock make peace, or so we think. And Giorgio tells Mikey Spock that she needs to kill all of Lorca's co-conspirators and her co-conspirators, so it's done. Crew members are killed, their pins are thrown on a table, there's a sack with more pins on it that's dumped on the table. Heck, Detmer, that mirror universe, she gets killed after helping Mikey Spock because she's one of the co-conspirators. And it's a whole mess. And this whole episode was a freaking mess. There's even a fight between Giorgio and Michael, Captain Burnham, Mikey Spock, Captain Crazy Eyes. Because, trust me, she wasn't the only one that had crazy eyes in this episode. There were a few others that had crazy eyes in this episode. And even a Mirror Universe version of Carl is in this episode. And he's in league with Lorca. And, of course, he gets shot during this fight. Actually, before this fight. And, when Giorgio and Captain Burnham are fighting, Burnham's fighting with a knife, Giorgio's fighting with a sword. I don't know. I can see who's going to win that fight. And yes, it was Giorgio, because what does she do? She ends up stabbing and killing the Michael Burnham of that universe, Mikey Spock of that universe. And, before that even happens, the Mikey Spock of that universe stabs Giorgio in the shoulder. Giorgio pulls the knife out, sees that Michael Burnham's spitting up blood, dying, gasping for her last breath, and passes on. And then after that happens, we wind up back on the planet that's in the Gamma Quadrant, you know, planet number 5, whatever the name that planet was. And we find out that Carl is the guardian of forever because the paper he's holding is the Daily Star Press. I didn't notice it last week. I'm gonna admit it. I didn't notice it last week, but I did notice it this week. And you know, when he said he's the guardian of forever, and they used the voice clip from the City on the Edge Forever, I'm thinking, really, really, you're gonna basically ruin what was a good episode and say that because other people were able to find the gateway, the doorway for the Guardian Forever, they were able to tamper through time and space itself. Yeah, well, in case anybody forgot, the only reason that certain officers, meaning Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, even went through the gateway in the City on the Edge of Forever was because McCoy had a hypo spray and injected the hypo into himself, filling him with some medication that drove him batshit crazy. And he ends up, you know, screaming, "Assassins, murderers, they'll kill us all." And ends up, you know, beaming down to the planet, jumping through the gateway. And Kirk and Spock have to travel back to 1930s New York. And, you know, that's where Kirk meets Edith Keeler, played by Joan Collins. And of course, Spock builds a device and it goes through history and shows how history has been changed because McCoy's there. And Edith Keeler is there because Edith Keeler was supposed to die. So when Kirk and Spock are able to save McCoy, they actually prevent him from rescuing Edith Keeler, who's walking in the street and gets struck by a car and is killed, to set time right again. Because in the timeline where Edith Keeler lived, Nazi Germany won World War II. But in the timeline that we know, the Allied forces won, defeating not only the Nazis, but also Japan during World War II. And it set time back on the course it was meant to be going on. And even Carl, the guardian of forever, says that Georgiou doesn't belong in that future timeline in the 31st century. Michael Burnham does for some reason. Oh yeah, that's right, because she's Michael Burnham. That's right. And I know you're all going, stop hating on this series. You try watching this series. I've tried giving this series a chance for 3 seasons now, and it's not improving itself in my opinion. At least when it comes to improving itself, the quickest series to do it was DS9, and that was in its 2nd season. I mean, some may argue, some may disagree with me, but I feel that Deep Space Nine did it the quickest in its 2nd season. It took Next Generation its 3rd season. It took Voyager its 4th season. And unfortunately for Enterprise, it was its 4th season when it was really starting to get good, and it had already been canned. I mean, this show goes against Star Trek canon. It completely ignores it. It tramples all over the City on the Edge of Forever, which was a great classic episode of the original Star Trek. And you want to know why I say it does that? Because it ruins the memory of that episode. It ruins the memory of that episode. And one key factor, that episode was to teach Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and the crew of the Enterprise a lesson about tampering with time and the damage that it could cause if you change just one small aspect of time, the ripple effect it'll have throughout the rest of time. This episode, makes it seem like, even makes it sound like, oh, wait, everybody found out about, you know, the Guardian of Forever, his gateway, and used it to trample through time and, the temple wars and everything, and start killing each other. You know, yes, the records of Kirk's encounter would have been there, but who's to say that the Guardian wouldn't have changed locations from his original encounter with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy to another location? I mean, as soon as he says, I'm the Guardian of Forever, and the gateway formed, and destination, planet, it could do that now. Because, there is more crying in this episode. There's tears between Georgiou and Mikey Spock, as Georgiou is being sent back in time, presumably back to the 23rd century, if that Section 31 spin-off show is still greenlit. I doubt it, since you haven't heard anything about it since its initial announcement. But, other people are hopeful about Strange New Worlds. Who knows? Because Strange New Worlds is still being produced by the same freaking people that are producing this crap. And I am going to be very happy when this season is over, because I committed myself to reviewing this season. I'm going to review the next 3 episodes. I've got 3 more outs to get, and I'll be done with it. I will be done with this episode. I mean, I had never thought I would dislike a Star Trek series so much. When, Star Trek was something that I've loved since I first saw it in 87, and then start getting into it slowly but surely. And it was the original series. And then Next Generation hooked me, and the rest was history. Hold on, I've got a chat. Hey dude, I hope you have a good stream, an even better day. I'm sorry I'm not always there for you every day. There's like 9 of you online. Alright, thanks for that, Lacey J86. Appreciate that. As far as what do I think you should make today, it's hard. It's hard to say, because there are times I think, well, maybe I should do this, and then I think, a lot of other people are doing that. I kind of want to stay away from that. Yes, a lot of people are doing episode reviews, and there are people doing episode reviews of Star Trek Discovery, but I felt that, I'm passionate about Star Trek, so why not delve into it? And, if you've been to the YouTube channel before, I do recaps of the box score, recapping Chicago Cub games, so you've seen how passionate I can get about that. If you haven't, go to the YouTube channel right now and go into the box score playlist, and you can see all the episodes I've ever done for the box score, the ones that I did last year, which are all re-uploaded, as far as the ones that were able to be salvaged from the hard drive they were on. And so, that's another thing. Pacific 4 and 4 episode reviews, it's primarily for the YouTube channel, and then I have been doing it here on the Twitch channel as well. I am gonna stop doing it after the season finale of Star Trek Discovery. If you guys would like me to continue on with it, I will. But after Discovery's 3rd season finale is done and over with, it's going to be exclusive on the YouTube channel. But again, if you want me to continue it here on the Twitch channel, I certainly will. because there is one show I do want to review. I know I've gotten off topic. You'll have to bear with it. But there is one show I do want to review, but I have to catch up. And that's The Expanse. I've barely gotten into that show thus far. I'm only in the first season. But I'm gonna give a review of the current season once I catch up. I could do reviews of past seasons, but I'd rather do the current season. And I know that's going to be a lot of binge watching, and I may not even give an episode by episode review. It just might be a season 5 overview about what happened. But, anyways, getting back to Discovery, it was more the same with Discovery. Just over the top acting, even when it's not a Mirror Universe episode. It's over the top acting, characters you don't care about. And, here it is, 3 seasons in, and I can name maybe 2 characters other than Burnham and Saru. Okay, maybe other than Burnham, Saru, Georgiou, and Detmer. And those would be Lorca, Stamets, Adira. Oh, speaking of Stamets and Adira, they're in engineering, what they call engineering in Discovery, and they're trying to still find out the source of the distress signal from the Kelpian ship. Well, Booker comes in, and he knows a solution, and it's Emerald Change Tech, which will allow them to get into the systems of the Kelpian ship and find out what happened to the burn. Well, they find this out. Jet Reno shows up, starts whining and complaining about some power being taken away because Adira and Stamets are taking up all the energy to do their research to find out the source of the distress signal and, if they can get into the systems. And with Booker's backdoor technology, because that's basically what it was, they're able to find out, and Stamets goes to tell Saru. Saru does notify the Admiral back at Starfleet, and the Admiral does question Saru as to why he didn't tell him sooner, and the Admiral knows. The Admiral knows it's because Saru hasn't seen any Kelpians since they've arrived in the 31st century, and he understands Saru wanted to see a member of his people. And the Admiral does question about them using Emerald Chain technology, and Booker, who's there at this meeting, says, I've used it myself, it's safe. And then after Booker leaves to talk to Michael Burnham, who's just beamed up from the planet after Georgiou goes back in time, forward in time, somewhere in time. The Admiral says to Saru, you guys have a knack for doing your own special things, but I want you to keep me apprised on what's going on as soon as you find out any information on this ship. And, Admiral Vance, I'm not sure if he's going to turn out to be a villain or if he's still going to remain, one of the good guys. That remains to be seen. But then we get to the last scene of the episode, and they're in the mess hall. They're having a toast to Georgiou. I mean, having a toast to a mass murderer, a narcissist. Throw it any name you want, but the character isn't redeemable in any way, shape, or form, even though they're gonna try their damnedest to do so. But they have a toast. They shed more tears. I mean, tear trek. That's what this is. It's tear trek. This is soap Trek. I don't know of any other Star Trek series where characters have cried so much. Yes, I remember when Kai Opaka died on that planet, where she was then, you know, brought back to life because of, you know, technobabble and in that planet that allowed her to be brought back to life, but only while she was on that planet. You know, I remember Kira crying when she died. I can remember a few other instances where characters cried, like Troy when she is being traumatized by a music box. I forget what episode of Next Generation that was, but you know, she's screaming, make it stop, because she's being tortured by this music box. And also when her son died in season 2 of Next Generation, when she was impregnated by an alien life form, her infant baby grew within a matter of weeks to become an adult, and then, you know, ended up dying, leaving. You know, her crying, and of course, you know, seeing Troy cry in Generations when the Enterprise D saucer section crash landed on Veridian 3 after the Enterprise Star Drive section was destroyed in their fight against a 20-year-old bird of prey. And the only reason that 20-year-old bird of prey defeated a Galaxy class starship was because the Duras sisters kidnapped Geordi. Well, I know it was more of a prisoner exchange. And Dr. Soren put a device in Geordi's visor, which allowed the Duras sisters to get the Enterprise's shield modulation frequency, which you would think, and I've even talked about this with TKO before Friday Night Frontiers, way before Friday Night Frontiers. We've talked about it, how you would think if they were remodulating the shields, you know, after their encounters with the Borg, that a standard battle tactic after their encounter with a Borg with any other species would be to keep rotating and remodulating the shield frequencies, so you know your enemy doesn't have time to adapt and you can at least keep your shields up. But nah, I know it was plot convenience. Plot convenience, but of course Discovery always creates its own plot conveniences, because they even prop up Michael Burnham once more during her tearful goodbye with Georgiou. And, you know, she says, she being Georgiou says, you know, Saru's not the only captain for Discovery. You have potential of being captain too. It's like, okay, we already know that. We already heard before the series came out that supposedly it's going 5 years, and that by the end of the 5-year journey, Michael Burnham, who is a mutineer, by the way, everybody seems to conveniently forget that, but Michael Burnham will be captain of her own starship. Okay, well, she won't. She won't be, you know, the first captain to ever captain a starship. There have been several others that we haven't seen on screen, and you know, even the ones that we have, well, we've seen quite a few captains throughout Star Trek, and the movies, the series, you name it. And I know a lot of the books aren't canon, but there have been quite a few captains in the books as well. So, Mikey Spock will be one of many in a long line of captains. So, my overall reaction to this episode was, it was another Mirror Universe episode, another Discovery episode, where we got more of the same. And I know this is the last time I can say it, at least for this year. At least for this year. Gotta wait a whole year before I could say it next year. But thank God for The Mandalorian, because I am looking forward to its season finale tomorrow, and I hope you are too. And I hope you tune in tomorrow for my reaction review. I know you may not like my reaction reviews for Discovery, but maybe, possibly, you'll like my reviews for The Mandalorian. I don't know. That's up to you. Leave a comment. Leave a comment in the comment section. If you want to leave a comment before I sign off, go ahead. You know, you can find me on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. The links are in the About section on both Twitch and YouTube, so you can find me there. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to anybody who stopped by during the stream. Really appreciate it. And let's see. Lacey J, you know what? I'd go with the Greek pork tenderloin. Yeah, I know it took me a while to get back to you on that. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Tune in tomorrow for another episode of Pacific 4 and 4 episode reviews. And if you're on Twitch, follow the Twitter feed and you will find out when I'm going to be streaming next. Or, who knows, I might just pop on. I might not even make an announcement. I might just pop on and start streaming another game. I still have to finish Mega Man X. I started to do it the other night. Tried to finish it up, but I just kept messing up, and I wasn't feeling it. So I stopped the stream. So maybe I'll continue on with that. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you all have a great rest of your Thursday evening. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube. Share this video. Hit that notification button if you would like to be notified whenever I go live, whenever I post up a new video. I've posted up several new videos in the last couple of days on the YouTube channel, so go check them out. And until then, I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great night. I know I've already said that, but I'm going to say it again. And as always, take care.